So I promised tonight we would do more Yin-Yang symbol. I think possibly this will be the last Yin-Yang symbol for a while, and next week we'll start on something new, unless there's a groundswell of enthusiasm for continuing Yin-Yang symbol. And loosening up, shaking out wrists and elbows, shaking the whole body. So I remember when we started online back in, well, probably what, March? And I was looking forward to the days getting longer so we would have more natural light. And now, here we are, days getting shorter, and the natural light is fading away. Doesn't help that today's cloudy, too. So, okay, let's relax the waist. Okay, and bring your feet together. We'll loosen up the knees. And change direction. And now we'll do the ankles. And change direction. Now the other foot. Change direction. All right. So, tonight, let's start with the solo coiling. And remember, solo coiling, the main point of the training is to connect the body from root through fingertips. And I like a little bit wider than shoulder width stance. And of course, with coiling and spiraling also. Remember last week we went over yin and yang concepts and procedures for both coiling and spiraling. So to do the yang solo coiling, we do the butt pivots in couch, and then we go to the thumb side, and snake climbs over the branch, and then we seal down with push on, sealing down. And then the left hand, snake butt pivots in couch, snake climbs over the branch, and we seal down to the other side. Okay, so butt pivots in couch, snake climbs over the branch, and seal down. Butt pivots in couch, snake climbs over the branch, seal down. You want your snake climbing over the branch to be as soothing and as what's the word I'm looking for? You don't want to flop. You don't want smoothness. And just like a snake would coil over a branch, the snake is not going to allow an air gap between himself and the branch. Is going to stay very, very close to the branch. And that's what you want to do with the solo coiling, so that when you do with the coiling with the partner doesn't feel anything disturbing, doesn't feel any alarm bells going off, because the feeling is so soft and smooth. Okay. And seal down. Breathing pattern would be inhale, of course, here, and then your exhale here. From the root through the waist. I should also point out that the push is generated from the root as well as the coil. You want to have the feeling that like your feet are have strong vacuum underneath them, and just pulling down into the root. And of course, the center of gravity, the dantian, sinks as you apply the force up on. Okay, so that's the Yang pattern of solo coiling. And then we have the Yin pattern. So the Yin pattern begins, of course, with the butt pivoting in the couch. But this time, instead of going over with the thumb up, you're going to go over with the other fingers, not the thumb. So the thumb isn't really leading, it's kind of trailing. It's hard to describe, but we're going the other direction. Butt pivots in couch and snake climbs over the branch. Butt pivots in couch, snake climbs over the branch. And now our manifestation of energy is going to be pluck, side, side. And remember that our grip for pluck is the two middle fingers and the thumb. And these fingers, I'm just lifting them up to show you that the two middle fingers are doing the gripping. But they would be loosely draped over the wrist because you don't want to stick your fingers up. Somebody will attack them with finger chinna. Also, the grip of a pluck is loose, like handcuffs. So that means that your grip is not so tight that the energy is stagnant. So if the energy is stagnant because the grip is tight, then it will actually ironically be easier for an opponent to escape from than if the grip is loose and your energy is freely flowing and you can be agile in your response to someone's attempt to break out of your grip. So from over on the for the right hand, this would be the left side, the far side. Butt pivots in couch, snake climbs over the branch, and pluck down. Now, manifestation of energy is on the pluck, so the pluck is not really entirely yin, so it will be an exhale because you're manifesting energy. So your breathing pattern would be inhale, then, did I go the right way? Yes. And exhale, exhale. Pulling again into the root. You're sinking and pulling into the root. Okay, so here we go with the yin pattern and pluck. Snake climbs over the branch and pluck. Inhale, exhale. Okay, so if we stand with the right foot forward and we trace the yang symbol pattern like this. Well, when we have a partner, we can add quite a bit of variation to the techniques that can come out of the Yin-Yang symbol tracing. Once we learn the Yin and the Yang patterns, and so we won't be able to practice that for a while longer. And so if you wanted to continue to progress and learn how you might change the pattern solo, I'm going to give you a method of doing that. So remember that we had butt pivots in couch. So imagine that my left hand is an opponent or a partner. So as I come up and trace the yang pattern, the large yang circle, right? I get to a point about right here where I'm going to, if I want to continue with the yang pattern, I'm going to turn my palm out. I'm going to go from palm to on, right? However, if I wanted to change to the yin pattern, right here is the place to do it. Before I turn my palm out and commit to the yang, commit to continuing the yang pattern, I have an opportunity right here to change to yin pattern. Now what would be happening here is that I would be tracing half of the large circle with yang and then going back the other way with yin. Okay? So instead of completing a large circle, I would be doing half a large circle yang and then half a large circle yin. And then I'll have to continue the yin pattern with the figure eight. Okay. So this left hand now stands in for a partner or opponent, and what you're going to do, it's not going to be palm, it's not exactly going to look like butting couch, but it's going to have the same feeling. You're actually going to be wrist to wrist, right? But you're still going to come around and change the direction. So it's like butting couch in that the movement will be pivoting on the opponent's wrist and climbing over and then switching to the yin large circle. Okay. You can practice this if you need to get feeling. Use your other hand and just practice like a high butting couch. Going, okay, yang, yang. Oh, now I want to go yin. Okay? So you bring the circle up with the butting couch position. Right here, if you were going to continue yang, you would have to commit by turning your palm out. But if you want to change, you would do butt pivots in couch, yin direction, and snake climbs over the branch. But remember, it's your partner's not going to be presenting you with the couch. They're going to be presenting you with the back of the wrist, and of course, their hand will be the other way. It won't be thumb down, it'll be thumb up, but it'll be the back of their wrist, so you'd be pivoting wrist to wrist, okay, like so. My wife is on Zoom meeting, so otherwise I call her down and ask her to lend a hand, literally, so you can see how the partner's hand would look correctly, but she's in a Zoom meeting herself, so maybe next time. So what this will look like solo then is we make large circle, and right here, right before you cross the center line, you're going to bring the coiling from the root and seal down. Now, if you've done this with the partner, you'll remember that if you went beyond the center line and you coiled, your partner's hand would be here, right? And your hand's over here, and your face is right here, which means your partner has direct access to your face. So that's not going to work if you try to make the change after you've passed the center line. So you have to do it over here, and what happens is you're actually going to palm out against the partner's wrist, and then, now, the whole time then, you've got him sealed out. Right. It'll be great to get back to teaching partner exercises with actual partners. Okay, so large circle, change. Then we go to the yin pattern. And we would do the figure 8 for yin. And then, now you want to know how to switch back to yang? I have to work this out. Okay, so, because right now my brain can't grab hold of it without another person, so I'm going to have to work that one out for you for next time maybe. So the yang though, like so. And it's as though you're finishing the large circle of the yin. So what you would do then, well, there's nothing that says you can't continue with another large circle, but it's not elegant. So here you come this way. Now you're finishing the yin circle like this, and now you would do the yin figure 8. Okay. Sorry, drawing a blank on changing from yin to yang, so I will work that out. Okay, so yang, half circle before we cross the center line, butt pivots in couch, snake climbs over the branch, seal down, and we're on the yin side. Palm down, palm out, palm up, palm in. Okay. All right. Yang, change to yin. Yin. So I have to reset because I can't bring it out of my head how we would change the other way. We can, but without a partner, I can't conceive of it right now. So this. Now let's try this on the other side. So we have yang pattern, large circle, figure 8, large circle, and before we cross the center line, butt pivots in couch, and snake climbs over the branch, and we go to yin. Okay. So large circle, butt pivots in couch, snake climbs over the branch, and yin will finish the large circle. and then yin figure eight in the middle. Okay, so back to yang. Figure eight. And back to yang. Now, let's just do a couple more of those because we need to even out the effect. Even out the number of repetitions. Yang circle. Change to yin circle. 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 And yang circle. Change to yin. And one more. Yang. Change to yin. Now, if we were stepping, I could show you how to change back from yin to yang. Because what we would do to change from yin to yang with stepping is yang circle, butt pivots in couch, snake climbs over the branch, seal down, and yang circle. Stepping forward and changing to the other hand, and you can attack the opponent with the yang circle, and of course the attacking technique would be diagonal flying as the main technique, but of course you can use other techniques in addition to diagonal flying. So once again, changing then, yang circle, change to yin. Now, as I come down here, I'm going to turn my waist and turn my front foot out. I'm going to come up with, well, if I'm going to do diagonal flying attack to the opponent, it's going to be kind of straight in. It's not going to be a circle like this. But to continue the pattern, I would just do the yang large circle. Okay. So yang large circle. Turning the waist and turning the front foot out. I have to come up inside, right? And diagonal flying, but for the sake of the solo pattern, just continue with the yang large circle. Okay, so there's one way of changing while stepping. And that, of course, was stepping forward. Stepping backwards. Remember that we discussed in earlier sessions that stepping back is yin, and you need a yin movement in order to make a yin change of direction. like stepping back. And in Tai Chi Chuan, you never initiate a step backwards. Your opponent steps forward and then you step backwards. So you don't step backwards unless your opponent steps forward. So if your opponent didn't step forward and you step backwards, what would happen? You would separate. You would lose your stick to the opponent. You would commit the fault of separating. And that's one thing you don't want to do in Tai Chi. So the opponent steps forward and then you step backward using the yin movement of the large circle. Of the Yin-Yang symbol pattern. So if I'm doing Yang pattern, my yin movement's at the top of the figure eight, remember? Right here, this is yin. So this is top of figure eight. This is a small version of the yin large circle. But in the Yang pattern, there's Yang, there's Yang, this is Yang, and there's Yin, okay? So 2 Yangs and 1 Yin. Stepping backwards then, I would step backwards here at the top of the figure eight, step to center, and step back. Changing patterns, I'm going to come across and I'm going to connect with the opponent's attack and redirect it to the side. My stepping, so Yang pattern, Yin, top of figure eight. My stepping is step to center and step back. And this is the Tai Chi walking pattern. And in this case though, there's a special reason why we would step to center. In addition to keeping our balance, and remember Tai Chi walking, we don't step from, I'm sure you can see my feet, we don't step from point A directly to point C, because it's very hard to maintain your balance, your center, if you did that. So you step into center and then step back, and that allows you much easier task of maintaining your balance. But in this case, with the partner attacking, your partner's going to step forward and try to hook your foot. In order to get out of that attempted hook trap of your foot, you're going to go to center and then back. Because if you try to go straight back, your partner or opponent would uproot you, sweep you. Okay, so that's an additional reason for stepping to center. So in that case, we have changing from, let's do this side. So Yang, stepping to center, step back. Now right here, yes, I can change to Yin, a little bit faster than that because I don't want to leave a big opening here. Or I could keep with the Yang pattern. I could continue the Yang pattern. Again, when you have a partner and you can feel this, how you respond when the partner attacks and you step back, you'll discover that the Yin is so much nicer and quicker and smoother than the Yang. Yang almost ends up being force against force, but the Yin redirects the attack to the side very nicely. Okay. All right. So again, the left-handed yang pattern. And top of the figure 8, stepping to center, stepping back, yin pattern. Figure 8. And then large circle, here's our yin. We could step back again, staying with yin like that, or we could step back, yin pattern. We could step back and use yang. Okay, again, yang is going to be a little bit less elegant and a little bit more like using force against force than the yin pattern would be. Okay. So stepping backwards, we step back. If we're on the yin pattern, we can step back on the large circle. Okay. If we're on the yang pattern, we step back at the top of the figure 8. When we step back with the yang pattern, we can continue with the yin, just like that. And it would be changed to yin, excuse me. Or we could step back and continue with yang. Now stepping back with yin. So yin pattern, large circle, figure 8. Large circle, step back. And continuing with yin would look like this. Stepping back and changing to yang would look like that. Okay, it's essentially the same movements as stepping back from yang pattern, top of the figure 8, and continuing with yang. Only the yin movement preceding your step back is the large circle rather than the top of the figure 8, the yin large circle. I hope I haven't confused you. But, yeah. So, and questions on that? So that gives you a nice routine that you can use to exercise. You're exercising pretty much the whole body there if you're doing it stepping and changing from one side to another. And you can see I've worked up a sweat, and it's not just because of the lights. They don't make that much heat. So you can get a good exercise routine out of the yin-yang symbol stepping. And now, if you wanted to step forward on the yin pattern, one way to do it would be to step forward as you finish a large yin circle. Bring your other hand in, and changing to yang, you would attack with something like diagonal flying, which would be straight, kind of a straight in attack, because of course you're going for your opponent's throat. Okay? But can you step forward with the yin? No, because look at the opening. How would I step forward with yin? See, my waist is turning here. So I've got the opponent. I can't give up on my circle going this way, all right? If I give up on my circle going this way to bring in this hand, what happens before this hand gets there to the opponent's arm is that, well, big opening, it's going to hit me before I can reconnect. So in fact, I would be separating if I tried to do step forward on yin pattern. And of course, step from forward on yin pattern would be a yang direction change with the yin movement. And it makes no sense. So it doesn't work. So in case you were wondering how would we step forward on the yin, it's going to have to be after we finish the yin pattern, and then we're getting ready. So this actually is the yang part of the yin circle. You could, so yang part of the yin circle, I'm connected with an opponent. If I can pluck the opponent's wrist, then I can come forward with yang, and what do you know? Ward off left, or grasp the sparrows, not grasp the sparrows, wave hands like clouds. That would be a lot easier to comprehend if we had another person here, but we don't. All right. Well, anything on yin-yang coiling and spiraling, Jing, that you would like to review? We have 10 minutes left.
Okay, so yin is in and back, and out is yang, yang is out and forward.
Yes, yes. So, in terms of the left and right direction, yang is always from the inside to the outside. Okay. Yin is from the outside to the inside. Now, in terms of the forward and backward, yang is always going to be forward, and yin is going to be backward. And as we discussed, I think last week, talking about the concept of yin and yang, the really important thing to grasp about Tai Chi, and I think about the universe as a whole, is that the power of yin and the power of yang are, I want to say equal, okay? I mean, not in all circumstances, but theoretically, they're equal. So one is not better or stronger or whatever you want to say than the other, because the symbol depicts each one equally. And once you grasp that the power of yin can be as strong, and in some circumstances stronger, than the power of yang, you've got one of the keys to understanding the universe and surviving in it. And notice, of course, also the symbol has a, at the extreme part of each of the energies, there's a little dot that is the color of the opposite energy. So in the large white area that is yang, there's a little black dot, which tells you that extreme yin has planted the seed for the switch to yang. Just like we see now, we're coming to the end of, or actually energetically past the end of summer. The end of summer contains the seed for the beginning of yin, summer being yang, of course, the beginning of yin in fall season. So, and if you attempt to apply one energy or the other stubbornly beyond its utility, beyond its appropriate application, you get into trouble. So someone who is focused on manifesting yang power, if they throw their center into the yang energy, then someone who's skillful with yin can capture their center and throw them away, literally unbalance them and have them down on the ground in a moment. So, and that means that arts, martial arts, and people, primarily strong men who don't understand the power of yin, they end up eventually in trouble. It always was in our experience teaching, and Mark will, I think, attest to this as well, is the hardest thing was to teach strong guys to use the power of yin, because most of the time there was nobody in the school that could force them to use yin, and they could overpower most of us with yang. But we told them someday you'll meet somebody who'll be stronger than you, and then where will you be? Or, of course, as you age, you'll lose your yang power, and as your yang power fades, if you don't know the power of yin, you'll be losing your overall power, becoming weaker and weaker. But if you know the power of yin, then you can make up for the fading of your yang power. You use yin appropriately. So I very much like that major revelation in studying Tai Chi, and I remember it happened at a Taste of China many years ago, and there was a rather well-known master from Arizona whose name at the moment eludes me, but he gave a seminar, The Power of Yin. And I took away one thing from that seminar was that don't neglect the power of yin. Study the power of yin. Learn and use the power of yin. So all techniques, one technique that we use, and I said, oh, that's, yeah, okay, the power of yin. I don't remember what that technique was, but I do remember the power of yin. Yeah, another question?
Is that the same for women or different for women?
No, it's the same for women, except the women get the power of yin. They understand it, and they accept it, and maybe even already have some experience with it, much more naturally.
Except that women lose their female power to bear.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is that replaceable by something yang, or is it that just silly?
Yin power, I think, is less perishable. Or, you know, yeah, if you rely exclusively on one or the other, eventually you're going to end up at a loss. But if you balance the two, and that's the thing, balance yin and yang. Yes. Of course, I would venture to say that the yin power is more deceptive, trickier, not in a bad way, I mean, not in an evil way, but in a way that some people interpret as threatening or evil. And that's why I think you had a lot of women primarily accused of witchery and burned. In the Middle Ages, I think they were strong with the power of yin. And men did not understand that, and men did not like it, and did not like having to confront it. So yeah. Well, okay. All right, so time now to change the hosting to Mark. And